This is Sky Sports, part of the Sky Television Network.
A thirst for action.
More Asprilla magic as Newcastle go back to the top.
Is it time for Clark to take the England job? We talk to the Forest boss.
And back in Britain, Big Frank says, I'm ashamed of my performance.
In the Sports Centre, David Boban and
Mark Durden-Smith.
Hello there. Everyone, it seems, has some advice for Big Frank as he arrives back home. We'll find out what he had to say at Heathrow, and we ask, what now for the heavyweight division? Can Lennox Lewis get his long-awaited shot at Mike Tyson?
And is Frank Clark the man to take over from Terry Venables? We'll be hearing from the Forest manager a little later in the programme.
But first, we'll start with the football results, and that game from the Premier League. Confirmation that at St James's Park it finished Newcastle 3, West Ham 0. Goal from Albert in the first half meant that Newcastle led 1-0 at half-time, and in the second half a strike from Asprilla, his first at home in front of the home supporters, and Les Ferdinand completing the scoring. Steve Potts was sent off for West Ham. And that victory means that Newcastle go back on top, 3 points clear of Manchester United, and remember, they have a game in hand. And for West Ham, well, they stay where they were, just comfortably in mid-table in 11th place.
The two games in the GM Vauxhall Conference, Hensford 0, Gateshead 1. Hensford missing an opportunity there to narrow the gap on conference leaders Stevenage. Kidderminster 6, Halifax 1. Kim Casey on target twice for Kidderminster. The win takes them into 4th place in the table.
And plenty of football still to come, including the best of the action from that Premiership match between Newcastle and West Ham. But right now, the other big sporting story of the past few days, Frank Bruno has arrived back in England saying he was ashamed of his performance against Tyson. But he says he still hasn't decided whether or not to retire. Jackie Levy was at Heathrow when Bruno returned.
Sunglasses were still hiding the bruises from the weekend. But as the defeated champion made his way through a scrum of fans and media, there was no hiding his disappointment at coming back to such scenes without his belt.
I'm gutted, not disappointed, you know what I mean? I feel ashamed coming through the airport at this time and moment talking to you, you know, so they won't feel more gutted than me. And I'm a proud guy, you know, I'd like to come back with my belt, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, I feel sorry for all the British people that went over there, spent all their money. I think there's a record 7,000 went over there, you know, and it's sad in a way, but that's how the things go. But I'd like to say a special thank you to everybody that went out there, everybody that supported me, everybody that rang, everybody that sent the cards and flowers and telegram faxes and all that. There's enough respect, but I'm sorry that I didn't bring back the belt.
It's hard to imagine how many more would have turned out if he had. Bruno is still coming to terms with defeat at the hands of Tyson and says he hasn't made a decision about whether or not to hang up his gloves.
What about retirement? Are you contemplating it, or are you going to talk it over with your family?
Talk over with my family. I've been away for 9 weeks and I'm very, very hard training, so I just want to try and suss it out and just take my time out, Miss Levy, you know?
Bruno headed home to Essex to spend time with his family and to consider his future. Jackie Levy, Sky Sports, Heathrow Airport.
So it looks as if we'll have to wait a little longer to find out Bruno's plans, but what next for Mike Tyson? An American court says he should meet Lennox Lewis, but there's already talk of unification fights before that with IBF champion Franz Botha and WBA title holder Bruce Seldon. Sky Sports boxing correspondent Ian Dark reports from Las Vegas.
It's another twist in the incredible Mike Tyson story. The ghetto child who became history's youngest heavyweight champion and then blew his title, his millions and his freedom is now back on top. And now he wants to fight in Britain.
I'm just looking forward to coming out there soon. You know, we're making arrangements where we can come to England and just arrange something. I'm just looking forward to coming out there.
Next for Tyson is likely to be the IBF champion Franz Botha of South Africa in July. Frank Bruno, meanwhile, is being panned by the critics.
I expected a lot more from Frank Bruno, and just the word disgraceful just comes to mind. He did absolutely nothing. He only wanted to survive, take his $6 million, and leave.
Bruno flew home within hours of the fight without talking to the media and clearly depressed by his performance.
It was a level of disappointment because, like, you know what I mean, like, I was a champion. I felt much more confident. I tried my best, but at the end of the day, my best wasn't good enough.
So, should Bruno now retire?
I think at his age, you know, he's 34, Frank. He's been there, he's done it all. 4 world title fights. He knows the answer to that better than me giving him advice. At the end of the day, it's got to be his decision. I don't want to kick a guy, you know, obviously when he's down. There's something for him to decide, but I'm sure at the end of the day, he'll make the right decision.
In retrospect, Bruno looked nervous before the fight and never really got into it. Speed was the key, I thought, to his defeat. Tyson had too much of it for him. He also had the bigger punch and the better chin, and the finish was vintage Tyson. And afterwards, Tyson showed his compassionate side.
Well, I knew Frank Bruno for approximately 12 years. I've known Frank Bruno for a long time, personally, when he first came to America. And I was just making sure he was okay.
Britain's former world heavyweight champion, Lennox Lewis, is trying to force his way back into the title picture. And an American court has ruled that he should be the next challenger for Tyson's WBC title. But don't hold your breath waiting for it to happen.
I think that Tyson and his people are going to take great pains to avoid fighting Lennox because that's stylistically a bad fight for him. So is Riddick Bowe. So is anybody who's big and mobile and can jab. I mean, you know, it's Buster Douglas all over again. You know, we know that there was a court ruling this week that says that the winner has to fight Lennox Lewis next. You know, I know that they're planning strategy right now not to have that fight.
As the dust settles here, I can tell you that Frank Bruno's decision to fly home early without talking to the world's media has not gone down well and hasn't won him many friends. Bruno's made plenty of money, £4 million here, but he was overwhelmed by Tyson and probably should call it a day at 34. As for Tyson, isn't it great to see him back performing like the fighter of old? And what a prospect that he may come to Britain. This is Ian Darke, Sky Sports in Las Vegas.
Meanwhile, Lennox Lewis's manager Frank Maloney is insisting that Mike Tyson will be forced to abide by the ruling of an American court that says the two fighters should meet each other by the end of the year. And Maloney seems to be one of the few people who wasn't impressed by Tyson's demolition of Bruno.
I don't think it was an impressive show anyway. You know, we really put it into perspective. He beat Frank Bruno. You know, Lennox Lewis destroyed Frank Bruno in 1993 in much similar fashion. You know, when he unloaded on him, Bruno couldn't answer one punch back, and Tyson done the same thing. So I don't think you can judge Tyson's performance against Frank Bruno.
But it does look as though that Don King and Tyson want anybody but Lewis next.
Well, that's true. We know that. I'm not so sure about Tyson, but maybe Tyson does. Maybe Tyson's running scared of Lennox Lewis as well as Don King is. We will see at a later stage. I mean, if Mike Tyson really is the greatest fighter as he claims and he's back to true form and he's not frightened of no one, then he doesn't have to worry about the court order. Let's just get that fight on and let's just get it out of the way, and if he can beat Lennox Lewis, he has no worry at all.
But the cynics would say he looks at the field and he sees people like Botha, he sees people like Sheldon, and he sees people like Lewis, and Don King and Mike Tyson are going to make sure that Lennox Lewis is not the next one in the frame.
Well, in that case, then Mike Tyson is a phony as well and joins the ranks of other heavyweight champions who have been masquerading as the greatest in the world.
Well, still to come on the Sports Centre, we find out why the Super League's Sheffield Eagles have been polishing up their French.
We've also got the rest of the day's football news and why Frank Clark thought he lost his job at the City Ground.
I switched the television on early on Sunday morning and got the shock of my life. I saw my face on the bulletin and I thought, Christ, what's happened? I've been sacked or what here, you know?
For 100 years, football and rugby have done battle for the hearts and minds of sports fans. But now, in an historic move, the men who have braved those 100 winters of mud, blood and tears are claiming new ground. Taking giant strides to make one of the world's fastest, toughest, most competitive sports even better. A new era, a new league,
a new force in summer sport. 12 teams chosen to compete in a brand new competition, including London, Paris and the mighty Wigan. The blinding new summer sport for fans who love a big ball game.
Super fast, super tough, super lean. Summer sport on Sky.
Hernandez, that pile of junk you sold me broke down again.
Yeah, it's my problem? It's your car, it's your problem.
That car is guaranteed.
Oh, nice guy, huh? Well, wise up and read the small print and weep.
Listen, we can do this the hard way or the easy way.
Either way, you're not gonna get your money back.
So are you just gonna rip me off?
You're not the first, and you sure won't be the last. And there's nothing you can do about it.
That was a commercial break for Hernandez Motors. And this is Ray signing off on Reef Radio.
Oh, sugar.
What?
I've put some sugar in.
Oh. Look, try to remember today we're making no added sugar Ribena. Because not adding sugar means that all the flavour of that rich black-curranty vitamin C goodness found in Ribena comes through naturally. Making Ribena taste better than ever.
Right. I must remember to forget to put the sugar in.
No added sugar Ribena. Now tastes better than ever.
No added sugar. No added sugar.
I was surrounded by the most amazing colors. Everywhere you look, there's something new, something different. But somehow, everyone manages to stay so relaxed. I just can't believe it was 10 years ago.
To Australia with Singapore Airlines. The sooner you go, the longer the memories. With more flights to Australia from the UK than any other visiting airline, Australia's most frequent visitor, Singapore Airlines.
Some things defy explanation.
What do you think this boy died of?
The only possible scientific conclusion is that Jack Hammond was killed by lightning.
A freak of nature?
He told me that he had powers.
Talk to me! Or a potential killer?
You're saying that he's some kind of a lightning rod?
I'm saying that he is lightning.
Obsessions can be deadly.
I knew he had a crush on me.
A brand new X-Files, Tuesday at 9 on Sky One Prime Time.
Welcome back to the Sports Centre. Newcastle are back on top of the Premiership after beating West Ham 3-0. Nottingham Forest manager Frank Clark has dismissed reports linking him with the England manager's job. More on both those stories in a moment.
And Frank Bruno has arrived home saying he's ashamed at his performance in the ring against Tyson, but he said he still hasn't decided if he'll retire.
But now let's show you the best of the action from Newcastle's 3-0 win against West Ham at St James's Park. Your Sky Sports commentator Trevor Francis and Rob Hawthorne.
Ball played through here, chance for Ferdinand, and Seeley has saved it, and Roland turns it away. Seeley showing no signs of rustiness the first time he's been called into direct action. It almost came through to Ferdinand, blocked again, this time by Reaper. This is Ginola, trying to curl one! Beardsley's corner, and Ferdinand is coming in, and Seeley turns it away. The third important save that Les Seeley's been forced to make in 19 minutes. Asprilla's layup, chance for Albert! 1-0, and the breakthrough has finally been made.
Ferdinand does well, Asprilla's involved. It's an absolutely brilliant finish. Looking very elusive tonight, Ginola.
And he goes in again, and he's already going to be booked again, and the red card will follow the second yellow.
Well, I think he's desperately unlucky, Potts. Quite clearly there, he gets the ball, he plays the ball, and he wins possession of the ball.
Helped on by Williamson, and Harry got there and was caught by Dowie. challenge on Steve Howie has left him in agony. And Asprilla is onside. Great chance for the second, and it is. Asprilla scores his first goal at St James's Park. And boy, is he happy.
Well, it's a superb finish. But my first thoughts were he was offside. Perhaps Reaper was playing him onside. That's a magnificent finish.
Howie. It's in from Ferdinand. The breakthrough has been made.
Well, there's a little bit of head tennis here from Newcastle. Howie wins the first, but look at a little header from Asprilla.
Here's Beardsley. He couldn't hold it, this is Asprilla. And he tried to curl it in from the angle. Seeley may have been anticipating the cross and suddenly had to get back down to his left. Oh! So close to an own goal from Reaper, and somehow it stayed out.
Nothing wrong with Newcastle there, nor Les Seeley for that matter. Now, Nottingham Forest manager Frank Clark has described newspaper stories linking him with the England job as rubbish. Several Sunday papers insisted Clark had been lined up to replace Terry Venables after the European Championships, but he says the reports came completely out of the blue.
It's a total embarrassment, really, that story in the papers. I don't know where it's come from. You know, I've not spoken to anybody from the Football Association, either officially or unofficially. It's total nonsense.
When was the first you heard about it? When you read the paper?
I switched the television on early on Sunday morning and got the shock of my life. I saw my face on the bulletin and I thought, Christ, what's happened? I've been sacked or what here, you know? And just caught the tail end of the bulletin, so I went out and bought the papers, and as I say, it was a total shock. I had a few phone calls yesterday. And I'm sure people don't believe me, but you know, I've not heard a thing about it. I've had no idea about it whatsoever.
Have you rung the FA or contacted anybody there?
Well, no, because I mean, I would assume if when the FA appoint the England manager, you know, what they will do before they appoint him is they might speak to him, they might interview him, they might ask his views on the job, they might discuss money, and they might discuss working conditions and that kind of thing before they get to pick it. So I mean, it was, you know, it wasn't worth a phone call, really.
I've got to ask you, it's the obvious question, but would you want to be England manager?
Not particularly. I'm very happy where I am. I mean, we've got this big game coming up tomorrow night, you know, and if we could get through that, we've got a very exciting end of the season, and I'm very happy doing what I'm doing here.
And Frank Clark, of course, is trying to prepare his team for their UEFA Cup quarter-final second leg against Bayern Munich at the City Ground. Forest trailed 2-1, but if the press here have been concentrating on Clark for England stories, the papers in Germany have been full of an alleged bust-up between Bayern's two international superstars, Jürgen Klinsmann and Lothar Matthäus. As the Germans arrived in England for the match, Klinsmann gave his reaction to the reports.
There was a lot of stories the last days in Germany. And all I can do is just laughing about it, because it's really not worth talking about that stuff every single day.
If, you know, superstars like Matthäus and Klinsmann, you know, they're always a little bit, I think that must be. It's not only between Matthäus and Klinsmann, it's all over the world, you know. If you have two superstars in a team, they're a little bit jealous. But they're not friends. It's not necessary to be friends, but to be a colleague on the field and to fight for each other.
Dean Holdsworth looks likely to miss Wimbledon's FA Cup quarter-final replay with Chelsea on Wednesday. Holdsworth limped out of the 3-0 Premiership defeat against Arsenal at the weekend after aggravating an ankle injury.
Gary Speed's hopes of playing at Wembley in the Coca-Cola Cup final are still hanging in the balance after visiting a specialist. Speed has a fractured cheekbone and he desperately wants to play for Leeds against Aston Villa on Sunday. All Leeds will say is that the midfielder has not been ruled out.
There's no place in the latest Scotland squad for Forest goalkeeper Mark Crossley, despite recently proving he's eligible to play for Craig Brown's team. But there is a place for Duncan Ferguson, hoping to win his first cap for 15 months and show he's good enough for Scotland's European Championship squad. There are 23 players in the squad for the friendly against Australia at Hampden later this month. The full squad: Booth, Boyd, Burley, Calderwood, Collins, Ferguson. Gallagher, Gemmell, Gorham, Hendry, Jackson, Jess, Leighton, McAllister, McCall, McCoist, Tosh, McKinley, Billy McKinley, McLaren, McStay, Nevin, Spencer and Walker.
Eric Cantona and David Ginola have once again been left out of the French national side. They've been omitted from the squad to face Belgium on March the 27th in a warm-up game for this year's European Championship.
Graham Souness is demanding talks over his future in Turkey after the election of a new president at his club Galatasaray. The former Liverpool and Rangers manager is under pressure following a poor run of results that have left Galatasaray 13 points adrift of Fenerbahce at the top of the table.
The Italian Players' Union leader says that he's ready to renew talks with the football authorities after a strike brought Serie A to a standstill at the weekend. The unions say that they have no desire to escalate their industrial action.
Well, golf now, and Colin Montgomery has moved up to second place in the Sony rankings behind world number 1 Greg Norman. Montgomery's highest ever position is because of his win at the weekend in the Dubai Desert Classic. In his first tournament for 3 months, he finished 1 stroke ahead of Spain's Miguel Angel Jimenez. Meanwhile, in Orlando, little-known American Paul Goydos won the $1.2 million Bay Hill Invitational. Ranked 263rd in the world, Goydos won by 1 stroke. Nick Faldo finished 6 shots back in contention at the start of the final day. He never recovered from a triple bogey 8 at the 4th.
Cricket now, and World Cup winners Sri Lanka have arrived home to a hero's welcome. Thousands of fans met the team at Colombo Airport, where they were given a tremendous reception following their outstanding win against Australia. Their captain Arjuna Ranatunga, who hit the winning runs, feels that his side have at last convinced all the doubters that they are now one of cricket's major forces.
I think we have shown the world that we are good enough to play cricket and we are good enough to beat anyone in the world.
The British Basketball League is to scrap its 2 foreigner rule in the latest knock-on effect of the Bosman ruling. Next year's teams will be able to sign as many overseas players as they like, but as an interim measure, will have to keep a minimum of 5 British players in their squad. The following season, there'll be no restrictions at all.
Rugby League star Martin O'Fire has been treading the hallowed turf at Rugby Union HQ Twickenham. He and some Wigan teammates were there to publicise the forthcoming showdown with top Union side Bath. The 2 sides meet under league rules at Main Road in Manchester on May the 8th, with the return clash under Union laws at Twickenham on the 25th. Phil Edwards reports.
More than a century after the rugby codes went their separate ways, the best 2 sides from the 2 disciplines are preparing to do battle. At Twickenham, with the League Championship trophy and the Pilkington Cup on display together, details of an historic double-header between Bath and Wigan were announced. It was Rugby Union finally embracing the old enemy from the north.
After 100 years almost, more than 100 years of animosity at times, it's nice now to be getting back together. And for quite a long period of time, we've been looking at Rugby Union and how we can learn and develop our game.
It sounds cosy, but on the 2 match days, there'll be points to prove. Wigan have dominated Rugby League in England, winning the championship for the last 7 years. Under Union rules, they'll have problems, but are promising to give Bath a run for their money.
We won't lack in terms of commitment. We'll be out there to try and do our best, and we certainly don't want to go out there and make a fool of ourselves and embarrass who we represent.
Bath have been Courage League champions 5 times and look like winning their 6th title this season. They too are determined not to be outclassed.
We're playing against the best rugby league side in the world, and that's going to be a huge challenge for us. We've had a few training sessions already, and we know we've got a lot of work to do at the rugby league.
Some say this unique challenge is nothing but a money-spinning venture without substance, but others believe it could be an early step towards what once would have been unthinkable, the eventual amalgamation of rugby's 2 codes. Phil Edwards, Sky Sports, Twickenham.
And finally, with the start of the Super League just 2 weeks away, you might think that most teams would be spending their time fine-tuning their passing or working on their fitness, but not at the Sheffield Eagles. It seems they have a higher priority right now. Rob Palmer explains.
Have to be quiet because they're getting rid of the Sheffield Eagles for the big kick-off of the Super League, and we're eavesdropping on one of their final team talks here in the changing rooms.
So, if you'll repeat after me, please. Le coup.
Sheffield are preparing professionally for their trip to Paris.
So when in Rome do as the Romans do, we'll be keeping as much English as we can, particularly in regard to the performance and the food. But it's all part of the what's really an exciting venture, going over to play in Paris for the first time, and all our players are looking forward to it, and we're preparing really well.
Allez, ça fait mal.
Perfect.
You'd think you were born there.
He was, Jean-Marc Gaultier is the only one who knows how to express himself in French. The rest are in for a cultural exchange.
I think we might need to know that was an high tackle.
Is there a French phrase for that?
Offside.
French players are renowned for tackling round chest, so I think we might need to know that.
Yeah, you'll have to know how to shout the ref, which is arbitre.
Unfortunately, when you play in the French, it's a custom that you've got to eat these before the game, so...
Can I just stick with the Stones picture?
go try one, go on, try one.
Well, what's the show about this?
All those tackles you go into, look, he won't even eat a snail. Go on, go on, go on. Quick, wash it down, quick, wash it down, quick, wash it down. I've never seen a grown man cry.
Robert Palmer, Sky Sports in Sheffield.
Stick to Yorkshire puddings.
Now, just before we go, a reminder of what's coming your way here on Sky Sports on Tuesday. At 6 o'clock, we're back with the Sky Sports Centre. At 7, ringside boxing, a pull together of all the weekend's great boxing action. The Footballers' Football Show takes to the air at 9. We're back at 10 with a roundup of all the evening's football. And at 10:30, it's Asian football. And over on Sky Sports Gold at 10 o'clock, Golden Rugby, a great match. France against Wales from 1975. Barry McGuigan with Golden Gloves at 10:30. And then the Golden Age of motor racing at 11:30.
Newcastle are back at the top of the Premiership. They beat West Ham 3-0 with goals by Albert, Asprilla and Ferdinand to open up a 3-point gap over Manchester United. And Nottingham Forest manager Frank Clark is dismissed as rubbish. Stories linking him with the England job.
Frank Bruno has returned to England, saying that he's ashamed of his performance against Mike Tyson, but he says he still hasn't decided whether or not he's going to retire.
Well done to Newcastle, back at the top. That's it from David and I on the Sports Centre. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
A thirst for action. Great action in April live on Sky Sports. Snooker's best contest the prestigious British Open. There's Premiership football and the race for the title builds to a climax. England take on Croatia and there's also Scottish Cup football. It's cricket Caribbean style with New Zealand's tour of the West Indies, plus comprehensive coverage of the Benson and Hedges Cup. There's World League American football, and that man Fogarty will be turning on the heat with continuing coverage of the Super League. That's April's lineup on Sky Sports.
This is Sky Sports, part of the Sky Television Network.